In a land of golden fields and scorching sun, there lived a young boy named Joseph. His tan skin glistened under the harsh desert light, and his curly black hair bounced with each step he took. Joseph's most prized possession was a colorful robe, a gift from his father, which he wore proudly wherever he went. The vibrant hues of red, blue, and yellow stood out against the muted tones of the sandy landscape, making Joseph easily recognizable from afar. Joseph was the 11th of 12 brothers, but he held a special place in his father's heart. This favoritism caused tension among the siblings, and Joseph's brothers grew increasingly jealous of him. The young boy, unaware of the brewing resentment, often shared his vivid dreams with his family. In one such dream, he saw himself as a great ruler, with his brothers bowing down before him. One fateful day, Joseph's father sent him to check on his brothers who were tending the flocks in distant fields. As Joseph approached, his colorful robe billowing in the wind, his brothers' eyes narrowed with hatred. They huddled together, whispering and plotting, their faces twisted with malice. Joseph, still oblivious to their ill intentions, waved cheerfully as he drew near. Suddenly, rough hands grabbed Joseph, pulling him into their midst. His brothers tore off his beloved robe, their faces contorted with anger and jealousy. Joseph's pleas fell on deaf ears as they threw him into a deep, dark pit. The young boy's cries echoed off the stone walls, but no one came to his aid. Hours passed, and Joseph's hope began to fade like the setting sun. As night fell, a group of traders passed by on their way to Egypt. Joseph's brothers saw an opportunity and seized it. They pulled Joseph from the pit, his once vibrant robe now tattered and dirty. Without a moment's hesitation, they sold their own flesh and blood to the traders for 20 pieces of silver. Joseph's tear-stained face disappeared into the distance as the caravan moved on, leaving his brothers to deal with the weight of their cruel actions. The journey to Egypt was long and arduous. Joseph, bound and afraid, watched as the familiar landscape of his home faded away, replaced by endless stretches of desert. The traders, with their weathered faces and rough hands, paid little attention to the young boy's distress. As they approached the bustling city of Egypt, Joseph's eyes widened at the sight of towering pyramids and grand palaces. Upon arrival in Egypt, Joseph was sold once again, this time to Potiphar, a high-ranking official in Pharaoh's court. The Egyptian's home was a stark contrast to Joseph's humble beginnings. Marble floors gleamed beneath his feet, and intricate tapestries adorned the walls. Despite his circumstances, Joseph worked diligently, impressing Potiphar with his intelligence and work ethic. Years passed, and Joseph grew into a handsome young man. His once boyish features had sharpened, and his curly black hair was now neatly trimmed. He wore the simple linen garments of an Egyptian servant, but carried himself with dignity and grace. Potiphar, recognizing Joseph's exceptional abilities, promoted him to oversee his entire household. However, Joseph's rise to prominence was not without challenges. Potiphar's wife, a beautiful but deceitful woman, falsely accused Joseph of wrongdoing. Despite his innocence, Joseph found himself thrown into prison. The dark, damp cells a stark contrast to the luxury he had grown accustomed to in Potiphar's house. Yet even in this dire situation, Joseph's faith in God remained unshaken. In prison, Joseph's ability to interpret dreams became known. Word of his gift spread, eventually reaching the ears of Pharaoh himself. The ruler of Egypt, plagued by disturbing dreams, summoned Joseph to his opulent palace. The young Hebrew, now in his 30s, stood before Pharaoh, his simple prison garb a stark contrast to the ruler's golden crown and jewel-encrusted robes. Joseph listened intently as Pharaoh described his dreams of 7 fat cows being devoured by 7 thin ones, and 7 healthy ears of grain swallowed by 7 withered ones. With wisdom beyond his years, Joseph interpreted the dreams as a warning of 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. He advised Pharaoh to store grain during the plentiful years to prepare for the coming hardship. Impressed by Joseph's insight and plan, Pharaoh appointed him as second in command over all of Egypt. In an instant, Joseph's life transformed once again. He was clothed in fine linen, a gold chain was placed around his neck, and he was given Pharaoh's signet ring. The once slave now rode in a chariot as people bowed before him, just as he had dreamed so many years ago. Under Joseph's guidance, Egypt prospered during the 7 years of abundance. Massive granaries were built, their towering silhouettes dominating the skyline of every city. As predicted, the famine struck with devastating force, but Egypt was prepared. People from all over the region came to buy grain, including Joseph's own brothers, who did not recognize the powerful man before them as their long-lost sibling. Joseph's heart raced as he saw his brothers bowing before him, just as his dreams had foretold. He struggled to maintain his composure, his emotions a tumultuous mix of joy, anger, and confusion. Despite the urge for revenge, Joseph chose a different path. He devised a plan to test his brothers, to see if they had changed in the years since they had sold him into slavery. Through a series of trials, Joseph observed his brothers' actions and words. He saw remorse in their eyes and heard regret in their voices as they spoke of their past misdeeds. Joseph's younger brother, Benjamin, was brought to Egypt, stirring even more emotions within him. The sight of Benjamin, now a young man with the same curly black hair and tan skin as Joseph, brought tears to his eyes. Finally, unable to contain himself any longer, Joseph revealed his true identity to his brothers. The grand hall fell silent as he spoke, his voice choked with emotion. "I am Joseph," he said, "the brother you sold into slavery." His brothers stood frozen in shock and fear, their faces pale with disbelief. They fell to their knees, expecting punishment for their past cruelty. But Joseph, his eyes brimming with tears, pulled them to their feet. "Do not be afraid," he said, his voice gentle and forgiving. "What you intended for harm, God intended for good. He sent me ahead of you to preserve many lives during this famine." The brothers embraced, their sobs of remorse and relief echoing through the palace halls. Joseph's forgiveness extended beyond words. He invited his entire family to come and live in Egypt, where he could provide for them during the remaining years of famine. Wagons were prepared, loaded with gifts and provisions for the journey. Joseph's father, Jacob, upon hearing that his beloved son was alive, wept with joy and prepared to make the journey to Egypt. The reunion between Joseph and his father was a sight to behold. Jacob, now an old man with a weathered face and white hair, clung to his son, refusing to let go. Joseph, still dressed in his Egyptian finery, held his father close, tears streaming down his face. The years of separation melted away in that embrace, replaced by the warmth of familial love. Joseph settled his family in the fertile land of Goshen, ensuring they had everything they needed. He continued to govern Egypt wisely, his experiences having shaped him into a compassionate and just leader. The once jealous brothers learned the value of forgiveness and the power of God's plan, even in the face of their own misdeeds. As Joseph looked out over the land he now helped rule, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here. From a pit in Canaan to a palace in Egypt, his faith had never wavered. He understood now that every trial, every hardship had been part of a greater plan. Joseph's story became a testament to the power of forgiveness and the mysterious ways in which God works, a lesson that would be passed down through generations to come.